And then there needs to be some form of enforcement program to see that people have insurance and keep insurance, because that's the other problem. A lot of them get it to show you that they got it for meet a requirement, and then they don't pay it anymore, just let it go.
Yeah, so Commissioner. Captain.
I just want to add to what both the director and the manager said. We do have like 8 right now escrowed from different fires. However, as the manager said, the price has not increased. So when that went into effect back with the insurance, State Department of Insurance, it was 15 grand. That's about all we get. So unfortunately, some of those that we have escrowed just isn't enough to cover the cost of the demo. The other piece where this we need to look at too is not just rental properties, but commercial businesses. 861 Bus, G&G. It is the biggest nightmare in Benton Harbor for me right now. There's not a day that goes by somebody doesn't call me. I've got to become personal friends with Miss Ward next door from her phone calls. Nice lady, frustrated lady. Right now, we're trying to get a court order from a judge to order the owner to tear it down. It's going to cost about $75,000. But that has become the public dump of Benton Harbor, if you haven't seen it. There's a hot tub out there now. There's all kinds of other issues. And then you have the partying that goes on next door, which we shut down again this week. And that just it just goes back and forth, and it creates a problem for everybody. So when we do this ordinance, we need to make sure it's commercial and rental. And one other thing, the funny part about this, or maybe not so funny, the house at 1060 Pearl did have insurance. However, the policy is going to be voided because the home was condemned. So there's not going to be, they're not going to get a payout on it.
So once again, we'll be stuck with a blighted property for years to figure out how to get it down. Commissioner Henry.
You think that database will be able to utilize the insurance? Maybe they have to verify from one year to the next?
We can make that a box. It takes about 30 seconds to create that box, and where they have to, send us either their policy. That's what I would want. I want to see the policy. I don't want them to tell me they have insurance. I want to, so we could upload it to the database.
So how much do you think would be a good price for withholding for insurance? Through the chair and city manager.
When I indicated $40,000, I was really serious.
Okay. Can anyone tell me if redlining is a factor in Benton Harbor's insurance policies, or can anyone talk about redlining to me on that subject, please? I'm an old school, and I know that we've been redlined since I was a little girl. So, can anyone talk on that? And
Anybody got any information on it?
Commissioner, I'm sorry, I don't even know what redlining is, so.
that's when they draw a red line around your community, and the insurance companies don't treat you fairly.
Okay, I can answer that. Yes and no. And let me tell you why I say yes. There is one insurance company, the biggest insurance company in the country, that uses zip code to base rates off of. Zip code is based on the fire loss in that zip code and crime loss in that zip code. Stolen cars, things where they have to pay losses. So that's the largest insurance company in the nation does that. As far as fire insurance on other companies, they use a system called ISO. ISO is goes from a 1 to a 10, 1 being the best fire department you can be, 10 being the absolute worst fire department you can be. Benton Harbor is a 3, so we're almost a 2. So in that case, the people that use those insurance companies, like Allstate is one of them that uses that, then their fire insurance is lower based on our fire department rating.
and I was just actually, that's, again, you're on fire right now. So to even further, couple things. One, when we took over, we were a high 6, so we got down to 3. But here's the thing. On one hand, we're spinning our wheels, so we're getting our ISO rating down because we're getting everything in place. We want to get as close to 1 as possible. But on the other hand, what hurts us is that we have all these burnouts and we have these issues, so they jack up our insurance when it's like we do well over here, but this is holding us back. It's just like you're trying to hit the accelerator by putting both feet on the brake. So all that works together on the kind of the macro view of all that works together. We're working hard as far as the fire service to get a good ISO rating. Now we have to have other things in place so that it all works together for the best for the residents.
And I think the other piece is, and it goes off something the director says all the time, broken windows theory. So if we start cleaning up the broken windows through code compliance, mowing grasses, getting buildings to look better, our fire loss is going to go down through inspections and everything else we do. So through fire claims. So it's kind of big circles.
And if I might add to it, there are a number of factors. One, even maintenance of keeping the insurance up. We run into it even with the CDBG loans that we make. There's a requirement they have to have insurance. People get insurance, and as soon as we get the work done, they let the insurance go. And basically, our only redress would be to require, a full payment of the loan. People don't have the money to do that. But there are a number of factors, and one of the greatest ones, we really need help out of the county and the judicial system to expeditiously process and handle the complaints and the tickets that we write. They're totally useless if we issue, whether it's a condemnation or a citation or whatever, and instead of it getting into court sometime in the next month to weeks, instead of 6 and 7 months or whatever, that doesn't work. And we need help from the system in order to make this process work the way it should.
Well, I suggest chair and co-chair go and talk to our elected officials in Barron County and ask them to fix that, because that's a plan to fail. If they know that we can't get our people to be in compliance, that we need to have some teeth to it. So we have to stand up for ourselves when we hear our chiefs and say these things, that we as elected officials need to stand up and find some way to fix it. And I've been hearing them talk about this with Barron County Courthouse for the longest, and let's do it. Just go to them and tell them, we elect you. We have commissioners that are there for us, and we need to ask for help. So it's another job for y'all to do. I
Thanks.
appreciate your offering.
I think it's,
And that's the social justice that I'm talking about. That respect us over there across in that building.
I think it's also a case that some years ago we tried to present a case for getting a magistrate, here locally, and it's, they don't want that, but I don't know, maybe through some state legislation or something that, because I'm sure, they say that they're overburdened in all these cases, and they don't look at stuff like that as serious, but it's serious to us, So we just got to come up with a plan to deal with it, So, any other questions on this? All right, next item on the agenda. Department of Public Works. The presentation, Abin Marsh, 2025 infrastructure project updates.
I don't need it. My backup.
Thank you.
All right, let's see if I can do this. All right, good evening, commissioners and public safety members. Jason Markwart with Abin project manager. Wanted to get, last public safety meeting, I mentioned that I was going to go over many of the projects that the city has awarded to contractors, just about to start here. So a lot of activity is going to be going on throughout this year based on all those grant funds that the city has received. One project has already started over there on High Street, and I'll talk about many, many more on this. So I did bring a couple members with my engineering team. Chris Reitz and Eric Engel do a lot of work for you guys and giving you guys updates, talking with the contractors, making sure that everything's documented, pay items are all set up, inspection, and we have a few other inspectors and everything that are out there day to day. So going to go through, it's a big list, so you guys have a lot of work going on this year. I'm going to talk really briefly about each one of these projects. The McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway reconstruction project. That project actually started last fall, so I'll give you a quick little update on that. The Broadway work was completed. They're close to BJ's, as you guys were talking about. The East Britain High and Vineyard project, that is the one I mentioned that started last week. Pipestone area sewer reconstruction project. And all of these I brought to you guys at one point when the contractors were selected and awarded. The Colfax Avenue reconstruction project, that was just bid through the MDOT process. The Colfax Empire traffic signals project, so just in the last week or so, the contractor's been out there getting that new signal operational. So I'll give a quick little update on that one. One of the ones that was awarded just recently, the City of Benton Harbor parking lots, the City Hall lots. So that work actually begins next week, so expect to see some activity here and a little bit of different parking arrangements. The Empire Sidewalk Improvements Project is one that wanted to get ahead of with you guys. It is out for bid, but wanted to get ahead of you guys before I bring back the low bid on that and what that project entails. And then there's a 2025 fire hydrant project that the city's been looking at doing with part of a fund that the city received from Senator Peters about a year ago. So my map is kind of similar to what I've provided before. And really, I'm just highlighting the work that's going on for this given year. There's probably going to be odds and ends and different ones going on. Like, I don't have the work that Benton Township's doing on Riverview on this one. This is the projects essentially that is going to be under city contracts. So just quickly, let's see if I have a pointer. So Colfax Avenue, we came to you guys just several months ago to talk about that new geometry there, but that's from Main Street to Market. Pipestone is a section from Britain to Division, and then a little section on Foster. The blue that's highlighted in cloud here, that's just a note denoting the Colfax and Empire signal. The McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway project, that's the big project that we have going north and south through the street, through the city there. And like I said, the Broadway phase was brought up to leveling course asphalt last year by Northern Construction. And then the East Britain Vineyard and High project, that is over here in this area, just west of Fair Avenue. So really quick, just a quick synopsis of McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway. That contract was bid at 6.7 million, just over 6.7 million. That contractor that was awarded that project through commission was Northern Construction. They were the contractor that did the May and Monroe project last year. Same team, same group. It replaces water main, sanitary sewer, storm sewer replacement. It's going to have HMA roadway construction, new curb and gutter, sidewalk, and ADA ramps. So the start date essentially was last year. We have it on here on the slide. It's a big project. Their substantial completion is the end of the season this year, November. So it's big enough where they'll be working on different phasing of it throughout the season. But if you kind of look at the limits on our map here, things will be detoured around Colfax and Broadway. So the dates to keep in mind for the new work coming up, the contract is going to start on the blue, some of the section on Pavone, just south of Empire, and the section on McAllister, north of Empire, starting basically March 24th and March 31st. So just in a couple weeks, they'll be back on site, adding their traffic control, starting their program this year. So a lot of work happening, just starting here towards the end of the month. This is just a couple snapshots. Last year, the water main and the fire hydrants was replaced on Broadway. And then if you guys have been out there, the Broadway surface is just two leveling course. They still got to put the top course of asphalt down on Broadway. We let it go over one season, just to keep everything, when we like to see all the top course happening all at once. So, we allowed them just to base it in last year. The East Britain High and Vineyard project, that came in from B&Z Company at a cost of just over $3.3 million. Very similar project in nature. Water main, sanitary sewer, storm sewer replacement, HMA roadway reconstruction, new curb and gutter, sidewalks and ADA ramps. Start date on that was actually just last week, so I didn't get ahead of you guys, just a week behind, but trees came down last week along those corridors. And then B&Z had started removals on High Street this week. So we put out door notices. We notified the area along High Street, and they're essentially getting going out there. So that's over on the east side of town. We have a completion date of July 18th and a final completion date of substantial completion date of July 18th with a final completion of August 1st. Some of the just existing conditions of Britton High and Vineyard. Some of the High and Vineyard portion is both really heavy needs for water main and sanitary sewer on those two streets. The Pipestone area sewer reconstruction. So Pipestone is a major corridor through the city, so you are going to expect some detours for a few months on that project. The sewer is 18 to 20 foot deep along Pipestone, and that's the critical utility that needs to be replaced in Pipestone. So L.E. Barber received that award, just over $2.5 million. It includes this section of Foster off of Pipestone that will get water and sewer upgrades. The sewer upgrades are isolated along Pipestone. There is a couple of hydrants that we're making sure we replace for public safety at the same time, though. They're looking at starting about the 1st of April, so you still got 2 or 3 weeks before you see some activity up there. And then our substantial completion is July 18th. So these we're pushing the contractors to get these done as quick as they can, because we expect that detours are going to overlap. You're going to detour around one project, you're going to detour probably around two at the same time. Some of the existing conditions on Pipestone and Foster. Foster's a really tight street through there that had some bad sanitary. Okay, Colfax. Colfax Avenue was an MDOT local agency project that was let through the MDOT process. So you guys did get some state and federal funds to help out with the cost of this one. That contract cost came in at MDOT at just over $2.5 million. Hoffman Brothers, basically out of Kalamazoo, got awarded that through the MDOT process. Hoffman Brothers was one of the contractors, just one of the contract zones for the lead service project. And they're actually pretty familiar with this area, so they must have put a good bid together. They did the Main Street work several years ago when they did Main Street. But that work will include water main, sanitary sewer, storm sewer replacement, everything that I mentioned before, new HMA roadway, new curb and gutter sidewalks, and ADA ramps. I don't know if I have the rendering, but remember that was the corridor that we're going to have the on-street parking, and we're going to have the bike lanes that we selected several months ago. So their start date for that project isn't until June 23rd. So we still got a couple months before they get going on their schedule on that. And then they would take pretty much the entire season up to November 1st. During that work on Colfax, they will have a detour along Market, 8th Street to the business loop. And also the city and I will have to coordinate if the corner at Wall development gets going. We'll have to coordinate between the two contracts. So a little bit more to do on that if they're going to have their development parcel underway. Some existing conditions on Colfax. The sewer pipes in poor shape, but along with the sidewalks, the adjacent sidewalks. So this will be a nice addition and rebuild for that commercial corridor through the north-south section of the city. Okay, just a quick update on your Colfax and Empire traffic signals project. That was programmed through the local agency project process as well with MDOT. That project to upgrade that signal came in at just under 400,000. That included the signal upgrades, and also don't forget that bump out is going to be replaced as part of this project. So now the weather's getting nice. We'll have some updates on when that work happens. So that's a signal contractor. So he has a sub for his earthwork, and he'll schedule that earthwork probably by the time when asphalt plants get open. I will provide an update to the city staff, public safety, and the school for any impacts. They'll want to probably still do that before school's out, but it shouldn't be more than a week's worth of work to get the bump out replaced. So that one's nearing completion. And then also there's some cameras that we got to make sure we get with public safety on to make sure they go back up. So yes, a new cabinet was installed, and then if you drive through there, the new mast arms are up and the signals are operational. All right, the City of Benton Harbor parking lots in the City Hall. That was bid at the end of last year. It's broken up into two projects. The city received some FDCVT funding for the public safety lot behind us, and then at the same time we decided, well, if we're going to do one side of the City Hall lots, we're going to do the other side that is deteriorated over here where everybody parks. So it's a $312,000 project. The public safety lot below with all the concrete pavement came in at $197,000, and then the City Hall lot over here is just under $115,000. The funding sources are there. The FDCVT will pay for almost half of the lot, over half the lot behind us at public safety, and then I believe the remaining funding is the PPI, the permanent public infrastructure funding. B&Z got this project as well. They anticipate starting next week. Okay, so they're going to start on the City Hall lot here, but it won't be long before they go down and remove the pavement down there where public safety uses. That completion date is just at May 20th, so things will probably happen pretty quickly. There's not much underground on the City Hall lot to be done. There is a lot more underground down there by the public safety lot. Just keep in mind for everybody here, here's my first, I did send out a map for staff I think it was just yesterday. Please plan on parking across the street at the city center lot, the library, or on the street parking. This will be utilized for construction until they can get that graded and repaved. So you'll have to park across the street and walk across until they get that completed. Parking lot existing conditions. I think everybody's familiar with the one over where everybody parks in the visitors areas. And then there's some drainage and some failing structures down at the public safety lot that basically floods that lower area. This one's probably a new one. I think on the packet, you guys have a resolution to accept the grant from MDOT. The Empire Sidewalks Improvements Project is a grant that the city received. It's a new grant. It's called the Shared Streets and Spaces Grant. So the city received $200,000 to do a sidewalk improvement project. And as part of this sidewalk improvement project, it actually requires the sidewalks to go from 5 foot to 6 foot. So that's what we have on Empire, essentially from where the Broadway and Pavone and McAllister project is, all the way to the school. So that is where we concentrated for this initial cost in this grant. It will, I'm going to read it word for word. This project will remove and replace new sidewalk along Empire Avenue to improve access to Benton Harbor High School, Boys and Girls Club, the St. Joseph River, Broadway and Yarborough Parks, and the bus stop between Columbus and Superior. So that's how the grant was written. By increasing the sidewalk width, we'll actually have to do some driveway work because now I have a larger, wide sidewalk that I have to touch the driveways. So that has all kind of been built into the McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway intersections. So we'll have a little bit of coordination to do between the contractors if a separate contractor is awarded. But that work, I do not have a schedule, so I'll have to come back and give you guys an update. It's bidding next Friday. So upon successful bidding, we'll make sure the contractors getting awarded for something that the city has in grant, or we might have to reduce the scope. We just don't know yet, but that project gets awarded, or I'm sorry, bid next Friday. As part of that same package, working with city staff, Mr. Little, and others, there was about $100,000 or $99,000 in CDBG funding that we were going to use towards the sidewalk program this year. And so as part of that bid package, I have two separate divisions. One is the Empire Sidewalks. The second one is these areas that will try to use up that $99,000 in CDBG funds. Doesn't go very far, but we've picked some areas just based on our windshield reviews and walking out there and seeing what some bad areas are. So this will be part of that bid package, and we'll want to have that done before pretty much May 30th. That goes in coincides with the schedules that the CDBG sidewalks money needs to be spent. Lastly, as part of that $800,000 Senator Peters grant that was provided to the city for water infrastructure funding, we'd like to target and propose replacing 35 hydrants and installation of basically 20 inline valves. So if you guys recall on some of the previous projects that you've done in the city, they were FDCVT grant projects that replaced 7 or 8 hydrants at once. And we've always concentrated on projects that were on the larger size water mains. So these are all the remaining ones that would be completed on the 4-inch water mains or 6-inch water mains that we just weren't targeting prioritizing. Now, based on F&V operations, public safety, and DPW, they have gone out multiple times since probably our last hydrant project and either noted something defective with one of these hydrants. You may have seen some of the ones in town that have the bags on them. These are concentrating on replacing all those and getting those all completed. So we are checking with the final grant reviewers on the scope and everything, but we would like to get that approved and put it out for bid for a project that mainly will have a contractor most likely fill up his schedule with these individual hydrants if they're if they're working on other things. So we'll give them a window so your pricing comes in as best. We don't want to just have one contractor do it in two months. So for the public out there and for everybody, just a reminder, if there's a project going on that's one of the larger projects that have the streets tore up or that you need to have an understanding of what to expect, we go out and we put construction notices out at each door. We're not allowed to put them in the mailbox, so we do stick them in the doors of the residents. And we kind of explain as much as we possibly can on that orange tag. And we provide a contact number for our group if anybody has any questions. In addition to that, we have added this project tab through the city clerk on the website. So there is a projects tab that anybody can go and view a lot of information on the project. That's right on the website, all the way to the right side on your icons. And then as part of that website, it provides the overview map that I had. We'll start to do weekly updates that we send out to city staff, like you guys got last year, on everything. It also has project information or frequently asked questions, and I'll show a picture of that in a second. It provides a detour map. It provides what we have in place for the timing of the project, and anything that we feel like we want to add to that website. So, like for frequently asked questions, a lot of times people are going to be asking what to do about access from my driveway. What do I do? How long will I be out of water? Maybe what to do with the trash. One of the quick things for trash, we ask the residents to place it where they normally would. The contractor works with DPW staff to get those trash bins picked up. So that's one of the things. And also along with, maybe where you need to park if you can't access your driveway. And remember that driveway may be accessible at times, but there'll be times where the contractor's digging in right in front of your driveway, putting in pipe in. There'll be times where it's not accessible. So use that card, use that number, call the number from our office. We'll make sure the contractor knows if there's anybody elderly or needs some assistance. During our progress meetings, we list any resident items that come up, so we relay that to the contractor so that we're all working together out there to try to make it as minimal impact as possible. The last thing I wanted to say, I just had a lot of these progress pre-construction meetings, and I asked the contractors if they needed any help. What I'd like to say is if there's anybody out there that wants to work on these construction crews and these construction teams with the contractor, please go ahead. If you know of anybody that is interested, please send that information to City Hall, and I will pass that right along to the contractors and follow up with them. But they have work. They could always use additional help, and they're willing to sit down with somebody to see if they can work in town here. I was talking to a couple of them, and they said that they had Hoffman had good luck with some of the people that they had helping them in the water services projects that happened. So I don't know if they ended up being permanent employees. They're out of Battle Creek, Kalamazoo area, but it worked. So, but yeah, if you have anybody's names, please send that to City Hall. I was talking to City Manager Little and Miss Rice, and we can get their information and pass it along to those contractors. A lot of information, a lot there to go digest. So, but I'm ready for questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Chair. On the Empire sidewalk walk project, is that both sides of Empire? Both
It is.
sides?
Yep, it is. Yep.
Good. Hoffman Brothers going to be here on Colfax,
That's right.
and they did the service line replacement here in Ben Harbor. Some of the work.
They did one contract, and the contract that they did was actually pretty much the commercial area.
And I was just wondering, on Colfax and Clay, I told you about that
Yep.
service line replacement. You got that hump. Colfax is a good major thoroughfare, so
Yep.
plus we fixing all the rest of it. And that'll be good for them to look at that. Smooth it out, at least. Do something with that.
Yep, we'll definitely look at that.
Okay, the hydrants. And I know you're going to look into the drain system, Klein, and, so.
Yep, we actually just was talking to F&V Operations about possibly doing some storm sewer cleaning here pretty soon. So Mr. Little was checking with their representative, and we're just that almost just happened this week. So we got to look and see what we can do right there at that location right away.
Right, it's going to be a busy year for Ben Harbor again, so it's good.
First question, on the Empire Sidewalk project, I know it's not in the scope of what you outlined, but between the Boys and Girls Club and high school, is it possible to put a crosswalk there?
Boys and Girls Club. Oh, so on the west side of Colfax, right?
Yeah, kind of where the entrance is, like so where the driveways meet.
Yep, I remember a request from that, maybe even when you guys were chatting with Mr. Mitchell on that. Let me look at that, Mr. Gunter. I remember talking about that. The trick on some of those is if they're not at controlled stopped intersections, they're there's some requirements that we want to make sure it's safe. So, but I'll add that to our notes and our ongoing discussions with the manager. Yep.
And second question, with the job opportunities, do you know how many positions they're looking for?
You know, I don't know if they know a number, but they're always looking for help. I mean, if they can get people working in town here, then they are able to bid on more work. So I think it would be, you know, you got B and Z, you got Ellie Barber, you got Hoffman, you got a couple that are not even bid yet. You know, even if they had one apiece, the two, you know, it depends on the size of that job too. So B and Z's got a couple contracts with the city. They might be able to hire more than, let's call it Hoffman, just coming in town for the several months that they're here. But I'd say it's a handful. I think they would be willing to listen to anybody.
And follow up to that one, is it possible to maybe host a job fair for them where they could all come at once and people could just come to an event?
We can schedule that. I know you and I have been chatting about that. We did that, I think we did that right before the lead service project, and I think they did one when, I think it was at the Citadel before Emmett Jean happened. So let's go ahead and get that on our schedules. Yep. They would have no problem attending that.
And then finally, last year, when construction was happening, especially when Pipestone, Colfax, and other streets are the more busy or higher speed limit streets are have construction going on, the residential streets have a higher number or higher level of traffic and people speed through. So can we kind of put in place any like traffic control devices to kind of remind people to slow down?
We can look at that. Yeah, that's a good idea. The detour around Pipestone will be the most impactful, and I think it might actually tie into the work that's happening on the east or the high East Vineyard and Britain project. So maybe as they're coming through and going down Britain and up Broadway, it'd be something to look at, especially with Broadway's pavement on the north side of town being pretty good shape. So, but yeah, we could maybe be able to do a read speed limit notification sign, if something that's what we want to put out there. But I think it would be eligible as part of the project with the state, just because the detour is needed for the infrastructure building. So I can definitely look into that as well. Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, Pipestone. So Pipestone's, where does it start and end? So it starts and it ends at Britain. Where does it start?
Yep, so Britain, so south from Division, where the project just ended. Yep, I can, yep. It's a little, yeah. So in this field, it starts at Division at the south end, and that's the project that was just reconstructed 2 years ago. And then it goes north all the way to Britain. And then Foster is the little spur that comes off of this project here. So I think it's 23 or 2,400 feet, half a mile.
And so I don't remember how the markings go for the detour. I don't remember how the markings go for the detour. So is it, I mean,
It's all just based on signage, so it's not pavement
Right.
markings. It's detour ahead, road close ahead. As you're coming up Pipestone, it's going to tell you, you're going to have barricades. You're going to have barricades at the project limits on Division, but we're going to want people to target driving around like Empire to Fair and Empire to Broadway. before they even get up to the job, the closure.
Right, I asked that because I complained before in regards to, I was following one at the Monroe area, but I had to keep turning to see if it was time yet for me. So I'm just asking, like, would it be, can it have some kind of signage referencing the next street where you can turn off on, or the recommendations like you just stated as to route?
We'll adjust the traffic control. So if you guys have comments as we set up these closures, please try to send them through to the clerk and have them send it to me. Because I think we're going to have to adjust a few things out there just based on how much you have. But yes, the other thing, difference between the May and Monroe project was that residential area where the contractor actually allowed people to drive through because it wasn't really stopping them. Which might still be the case on McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway because it's residential. On Pipestone, you won't be able to cut through anything construction related. It's got to be a true detour based on the sewer depths and everything else that we expect. So they'll have, like, they were leaving some of the intersections open to gravel, and then people were getting confused by going through there and which way do I turn? So Pipestone will be completely shut down and detoured, and we'll have to still look at that stuff on McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway for people wanting to sneak through the side streets. So, yeah.
I would like to mention something. Just for the record, all of these contractors have been informed and made aware of the city income tax and the requirement for making sure it's withheld.
The street cameras, are they putting them back on the poles, Empire and Colfax?
Brian just mentioned that to me, so yes, I got to make sure and confirm that and get back with you guys tomorrow on what the scenario
And
there.
then are there any other pole projects going on where we may have these conflicts also?
Mike, we'll look at that. We'll look at that, make note of that. Let's, as we look at, we actually had some meetings with AEP on some of them, on the east, on the High Vineyard. But yes, we'll take that in consideration because I think we ran into that issue, well, at least on the Wi-Fi at the Broadway Park, last year. So we'll check that out and get back with public safety.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that Commissioner Henry heard the employment opportunities for the residents.
Yeah, I got a question to ask about that.
And thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
I just want to know, is there, now, great idea, another job bank. But then I have to say, who's accountable? Or who gets hired and a follow-up? Would it be community block grant employees? Would it be this, who? We need to make sure that our people don't have to keep repeating the same process and over and over and over. So, will we keep a job bank record?
It'll have to be the contractors. They're the ones who have to make the decision on hiring.
Well, they're gonna make the decision if they're gonna hire, but my thought is, what is the follow-up? Is there a follow-up? Because during the lead replacement, a lot of our people were working for the first 2 weeks, then they kind of started disappearing. So there was no accountability as to why or anything. So I'm asking, are we going, we just can't keep doing the same thing and think we're gonna get a different result. We gotta have some way to show what's happening. So my question is, to the chair and the city manager, is there going to be accountability for those jobs? And I'm trying to create more jobs, so I don't want to keep going over the same process. If they're there and they didn't get hired by the contractors, then they're still there, available. So let's not keep doing the same thing and think we're going to get a different result. That's a question through the chair to the city manager.
Mr. Manager, you got any comments on that?
I don't want to misrepresent anything. We will do our best to try and follow up and find out what the numbers are and so forth, but we don't have a lot of staff or anything that we can commit to doing an in-depth kind of thing. We'll do our best, that's all I can say.
Okay, Mr. Gunther.
Thank you. I have an idea that may be able to address that. So if we kind of take a data-driven approach to it, say if we know the requirements for the jobs, and then of course we could collect information for the people that apply, and then maybe follow up to see how things went, or keep in touch with them throughout the season to figure out like if they were dismissed, why, if they don't qualify, why, those types of things.
Yeah, and I agree. If we go to a point where we're doing a job fair or if we get any names that gets put together for this, to city manager's office that we can relay, I think we'll be able to at least track how that process goes in this process and come back and give you guys a report on what we might find out. I'm ready to look at the data and look at how this process works out too. So we can continue to either evolve a program or not. But Mr. Little's right. The contractors are going to have the ultimate say of whether or not they're going to hire the individual or not. And we'll speak as much as we can, but they're still got their own requirements that they're going to probably have to be met.
Good. You got,
Ask you about the contact. You said contact the city manager's office, Rona,
Yeah, I think
Assistant
that's
Rice.
the easiest way.
Just leave a name or something.
Yeah, leave a name, information that they're interested in working.
Okay.
On the actual construction contracts with the contractors. And I will track that and move that right to them, and I'll ask them and I'll follow up on that. Because I know it's important to everybody.
All right, thank you so much.
And I'll have Rona maintain the information.
all right. Do we need to, that one for the MDOT, is that,
There's nothing on, everything that you guys have either, your next one is the acceptance of the Empire, but everything I did here was just kind of a presentation for everything, so.
is that a resolution that got to go to the commission for the accepting the grant? Or consensus to move that forward?
To move forward, please.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Thank you. It is now time for public comments. Please come up to the mic and you'll have 3 minutes, clerk, 3 minutes. Any public comments? Any public comments?
Is that specifically about what we were just talking about, or anything you want to talk about? I just want to ask like a question, bring something up and ask a question.
Name, sir?
My name is Tim Geisler. Apologize for my YouTube video going off. I was trying to get a reference for what I was going to ask a question about. Was meant no disrespect. I lived in Benton Harbor when I was younger. Moved away because there was no opportunities in the area. My wife and I, and then we just moved back last year. I live in township, but like if you live in township, you kind of live in the city too. I mean, I'm sure there would be people who wouldn't agree with that, but I shop and I eat, and I live in the area, right? So, one of the biggest frustrations that I've had since I got here is something that you guys talked about in the very beginning, which is the beautification of the city. There's just trash everywhere. And it has been on my mind nonstop since I got here. I tried to hire Dikembe Mutombo before he passed away to create a promotional video with his finger, you know what I'm saying, about trash. I mostly, I used to be a pastor, and I saw how impacted children are by the environments that they're in and how they receive their value as they're growing up. And for me, I look at the kids that are standing at bus stops and that are walking down the streets, and they're walking past, yards or, areas that, nobody really has authority over, or, maybe they're off somewhere, and a lot of dumping going on and trash everywhere. And that seriously makes me consider what the children believe their value is as they're walking past that. They're seeing that as their environment. And I applaud you guys for going after this. I've spent a lot of time on it, not knowing where to. I'm one of those people that spends a lot of time before I put my feet into something. And one of the biggest things that I thought, and this is a crazy idea. You guys don't know me. James knows me a little bit. But there's a city over in Europe that had a very similar problem with legal dumping and everything going on. And they tried something that was, not regular. It was different. And the philosophy worked, and they were able to get rid of a lot of the dumping that went on. And it was actually a very simple thing, is they chose to become a city of flowers. Now, that sounds kind of ridiculous, but the idea, did I go past my 3 minutes? Oh. So basically, the idea is that when you see just an empty lot, or, sticks that are kind of piled up, or just trees, like what we know is just a Michigan yard or a backyard or whatever, or a ravine or whatever. It doesn't look like much. So it looks like a place that you could just throw things. But nobody really ever throws things on flowers, because flowers have like an inherent value to them. Like somebody, if they were driving down the street and they saw like a field of flowers, like there's just tons of flowers on the side of the road, and they're about to dump a bunch of, I don't know, like a deck that they ripped out, let's say, right? Or they got a bunch of old tires and mattresses, right? They're probably going to search for another spot if they see a spot with a bunch of flowers. It's just inherently, I don't want to. I'm not saying everybody would, but to me, it's a very, very simple thing that people could do. And the other thing is, when I first got here, the interactions that I had with people is a state of hopelessness. Like, you moved back to Ben Harbor, why? This is what I got from Meyer. And to me, like the idea of like even being like a city of flowers, where it's like it becomes the thing of like, this is a beautiful city. There's flowers everywhere. And now it doesn't have to be tulips. I know somebody always got the corner on the market for that. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know if that's the solution. For me, it's something that's really big, and I don't know what kind of initiative beyond just hoping that people, and I'm not criticizing anybody at these tables, I mean, like, this is the first time I've ever been to this meeting. But I'm just curious, like, what kind of big thinking that's also very simple to get going is like in the works.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Sound like some good ideas, and keep bringing them. Anybody else? Anybody else? Public comments? Going once, going twice. Thank everybody for coming out.